Welcome. So today we have Alex Taub on, and you might have heard him from Goblintown or Upstream App or Vault DAO. Been a part of a lot of different crypto NFT native projects. So we wanted to bring him on and let him tell a little of his story. So Alex, how's it going today?
It's going well. It's going well. Thanks for having me.
I wanted to get a little into your background in crypto because I know you've been at least in crypto side for a while. And then obviously now into the NFTs and DAOs. So how did you get started in crypto?
Joined a company in 2012 with my co-founder, Michael. We joined a company called Dwala, and this was when, blockchain and crypto, specifically Bitcoin, was really new. And we joined a company called Dwala, and we basically ran their API platform in their New York office. And I think Bitcoin was like less than $5 at the time. So it was pretty early on. We all thought we were rich when it went to $40. So little did we know. But yeah, so been in the game for about a decade. My co-founder was mining. Then we left in 2014. But I had a nice front row seat to the sort of the ecosystem. So what ended up happening was we ended up leaving in 2014. We started a company called SocialRank, social media analytics company. Ended up selling it in 2019. And while we were doing that, we were always still in the game. So we were like, we had an Ethereum rig mining in the office. We were doing DeFi and ICO stuff first, DeFi stuff, NFT stuff. So we were always like sort of in the game, always around the space. And then back in about a year ago, so we started Upstream at end of 2019. Beginning of COVID, it was like all about virtual communities, virtual events. And then it moved in summer of 2020, it moved to being more about like the ability to start and launch and manage DAOs, and sort of upgraded the technology to be more Web3. So we started thinking like, what's the future of community look like? Well, Web3 communities probably are DAOs. And we ended up launching that, and then it was just really like right off the bat really successful, and that sort of led to a lot of really good things. But that's sort of how we got to coming back into the crypto space.
I think DAOs are one of the more innovative ways that we could use blockchain technology, specifically Ethereum, and this sort of way of creating ownership back to the holders. You're taking a lot of the middleman out of it. So how are you doing classes to help people out? Do they buy into a product that has tools? How is Upstream specifically helping with people starting up DAOs?
Yeah, so the best way to think about Upstream and DAOs is like in the 1990s when you were building a website. Either you knew how to code yourself, right? Or you paid someone a bunch of money and they did it for you. And as time went on, things like Shopify came out for commerce stores, things like Squarespace and Wix and WordPress just made, these no-code solutions to do this type of stuff. And anyway, so similar with DAOs, like right now, you either need to know how to code yourself, meaning you know how to launch a smart contract, Solidity, or you pay someone a bunch of money to do it. And I think, us and a handful of other companies are coming along and saying, hey, listen, you don't need to know how to build all that stuff. What we're building you is a really easy way to sort of spin up the smart contract, manage the DAO, etc. That's the analogy I've been using.
One of the more known ones, at least recently, has been this Vault DAO. And tell us a little about how Vault DAO came about and if people can get involved.
Yeah, so Vault DAO is it's sort of a play on the concept of a DAO. So a DAO is usually it's a blockchain community with a shared wallet and voting on proposals on what to do with it. What's happening here is essentially you are the only member in the Vault DAO, meaning it's a way for you to protect your assets. So instead of having your let's say you have valuable crypto or valuable NFTs, instead of putting it in a hot wallet that if you click on a bad link, it's all gone, or using a hardware wallet where it is a really sort of like you have to know. I feel like I'd lose my hardware wallet before I would, click on a bad link. Mm-hmm. So all those things is like making sure that you, all those things are sort of making sure that you're trying to protect yourself. And sort of what the Vault DAO does is you basically send the assets, whether it's tokens or NFTs, to a multi-sig wallet, and your hot wallets, right, or even your cold wallets, act as members of that DAO. So you are, I don't know if people here watch like Rick and Morty, but like you're basically the Council of Ricks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of you, and it's basically you have access to all of them, and obviously there's different severity levels of how you can make it less risky, and not using the same device for all the things. But the idea being that you click on a bad link and you just don't lose all your stuff, because it's basically it's a non-custodial solution that is a lot more secure than normal non-custodial solutions. Meaning non-custodial solutions, typically you're at risk, you lose your seed phrase, someone hacks, etc., you click on a bad link, etc. This protects you from that level of hacking. So anyway, to make a long story short, this Vault DAO is something that I came up with because I was waking up in the middle of the night really nervous that I was going to click on a bad link and lose my stuff. And what ended up happening was I realized I could send it to this multi-signature wallet, and then I could basically just make myself the members of it, and at least I would protect myself from that type of attack vector. I did it for myself. I started to feel a lot better a few months ago. Then I started to show it to friends. They're like, "Hey, can I get this?" I started setting them up, and then we realized there's a product here. There's a product, and we basically opened up early access that people can request. So for the past 2 weeks since we announced it, we've been just letting people request, and we're starting to onboard a bunch of people so they can use it.
That's interesting. So it's like it's a DAO for yourself in a way. Which
we could probably remove the name DAO, but it does function as a DAO, except you're just the only member with multiple accounts.
Well, yeah, I guess I compare it to, like, I could create an LLC. I'm not running this big multi-billion-dollar corporation, but I can have an LLC for the way that I'm operating. It might be more like a company, but at the end of the day, it's still for me. So that's how I guess I think of the two. And is there any limit to the number of these that could exist, or is
No,
it?
I mean, it depends on how many you want, like what you want to do. I mean, for one person, you probably want all your stuff in one place. But if you wanted to only put 25% of your stuff there and 25% in another one, you could do that. I'm sure there's ways that people can find even more secure ways to do it. I think when I think about it, the biggest attack vector for me is probably clicking on a bad link. So that's what I'm mostly protecting myself from. But others may feel differently. Maybe they feel that this is something else is the scariest thing for them. So, for them, there's other features they want from it. So it's obviously in early access, and we're really just trying to hear from people how they want to use it.
Yeah, it's somewhat beta testing with that. Is this the type of thing that you're expecting to expand to different blockchains? I don't know if you can technically do that or not.
No, you could. Right now, it's on Ethereum. That's where we're keeping it for now. As there's demand, we'll definitely explore other blockchains, but Ethereum is personally the most, what I believe is the most popular use case for this type of stuff.
Yeah, especially with applications on it. Are you able to say you have a MetaMask wallet and a Rainbow wallet and a Coinbase wallet? Are you able to intermingle like that?
Yeah, you could use any of those, as well as Wallet Connect, and obviously MetaMask. But yeah, the idea is that you can use whatever wallet you need.
Yeah, because I think that's the most difficult part for me is in the management of it. Is I have all of these written down with all of the different seed phrases, and I want to open a different wallet and have stuff in all different places for that safety behind it. And scams are unfortunately one of the big pieces of Web3 that has become sort of mainstream. Every time there's a big scam, I mean, we've seen it in the past couple weeks, month of some of these other blockchains, like Solana had that big one recently. Was this something that you found a lot of people were getting scammed, or did you already
I
sort
mean,
of have
yeah.
this idea in the past?
Well, at first it was a personal issue for me. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I did it. I was just nervous of, middle of the night, just, looking on Discord or Twitter and clicking on a bad link and then connecting my wallet and then it's all gone. Oh, that was my concern. That was my biggest concern. But other people, um, yeah, I mean, you see on Twitter every day, people getting hacked, scammed. So yeah, I think it's a larger issue.
So then, do you think this is going to be the main focus for Upstream, or is this just going to be one type of option that will be there? And are you already potentially building out some other ways that people can use DAOs in their everyday life?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think the way we look at it is we've been building infrastructure, right, for DAOs, and there's different applications for the infrastructure. And what we'll be doing as a company is we will sort of double down on those different um, applications. And if we see things working, we'll obviously spend more time. So if we start to see that there's a lot of people wanting this security vault situation, then we'll spend time on that. If we see that actually people want something else, that then we'll spend time on that. So I think that's how we've been approaching it. Is build a like base layer of infrastructure, have
Mhm.
a bunch of different use cases, and then we'll be able to sort of be flexible on like where to spend the time.
It seems like you're kind of always building something, and whether it's obviously with Upstream, there's a lot of different uh, not side businesses, but there's a bunch of arms within Upstream itself.
Well, Upstream is in and of itself a company. We're venture backed. We've raised like $20 million from investors, and
Um,
that's all Upstream is like DAO infrastructure. And we also do events. And this Vault DAO is just a type of DAO. It's not
yeah.
it's a new feature currently. It could be the focus if we see a lot of interest and we want to spend more time. But right now, it's a feature of a DAO. It's unrelated to sort of any other thing I've got
Mhm.
going on, whether Truth Labs and Goblintown and like Illuminati NFT, totally separate entity. Related in the sense that obviously I'm doing both. But the main thing was that like we were getting back into my co-founder and I were getting back into the sort of the crypto game by
Mhm.
launching the DAO stuff. And a lot of that's getting back into it. I was already buying NFTs and stuff, but that inspired me to sort of, you know, find some friends to launch our own NFT project together. So that
Yeah.
just to give a division of how it sort of was broken down.
Yeah, because I originally heard about Upstream. I was at an event at NFT NYC, and I used the Upstream app for basically the ticket into the event, and that's another great use case for
Well, that was the
Ethereum
original use case.
applications. Right.
Well, so that wasn't really Ethereum. That was the original Upstream when we started in 2019 when COVID started, or end of 2019, beginning of 2020 was starting communities, doing virtual events and virtual communities, as well as the sort of events into like IRL events as well. And then the obvious progression from the event stuff and the community stuff was a DAO, because a DAO is just a Web3 community. So if you believe in blockchain and the future of all that stuff, then you believe that like DAOs are going to be what the communities are in the crypto space. So it was just sort of like a natural progression. We still do the event stuff. It's just now that like anyone can host events or attend events. And then it's DAOs. Like the communities went away and they just became DAOs.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to word it. And to take this into the transition back into the Truth Labs and Goblintown thing. So obviously, one of the big things around that time as well was Goblintown, and they were just
Mm-hmm.
the talk of everyone in NFTs. Where did this idea come about? Because it basically it caught on quick, and
Uh-huh.
then it really kind of popped off. Did you expect it to have that sort of reaction? Where did this? Did it come out as you were planning? Did you do this as this idea of we're just going to come out with some sort of meme that's going to catch on, and if it catches on, we're going to do X, Y, Z to go off of that meme? I guess how did that really
Yeah.
begin?
So I mean, obviously, we didn't come up with the idea of what Goblintown is. It's over 100 years old. Tolkien came up with it with Lord of the Rings, maybe even prior to him. But you went to Goblintown when you lost all your money. So as ETH went from like 3,000, 3,200, 3,500 to 2,000, everyone was like, "Oh, we're going down to Goblintown," and then people were saying that, people were joking about that, etc. And then we were starting to build this like universe, right? In Truth Labs, we have something called the 187, and we were building this universe of different characters. And very like quickly after we came up with like, oh, everyone's losing money, Goblintown, Goblin sort of profile characters. These sort of like, that they're sort of like funny and they don't care about losing money and they don't care about the floor and they don't care about these things. Felt like it was really like timely, because like a lot of these things are like timing. It's like, okay, you have a good idea, but like, did you time it right?
Yeah.
And anyway, we ended up starting to work on it, and we felt like it was really interesting and really fun and really cool, and we were just having a lot of fun doing it. Do we know it was going to blow up the way it did? No. I mean, I think we always have high hopes to things that we do. And we know that we just have a good team that can execute on anything. But sometimes lightning in a bottle just happens, and you just sort of roll with it. We just tried to be. We just really tried to have just fun and do fun stuff with the community, and not take ourselves too serious, and all that stuff. But yeah, it's we have obvious, like, we say no roadmap and no things, but it just means we're not going to tell you it. We're going to go at our own pace. We're going to release the things when they're ready. We're not going to try to, if you want to build something that's lasts and sustainable, you can't really just do this game of like the pump and dump with NFTs. It's just unsustainable. And I think like communities that all they do all day is talk about floor price, also, it's not real community. Nobody really cares about that. Like, you have the same equivalence of like going in and trading penny stocks, right? Like, you might as well, if you want that, like, that 20% bump and drop every day. If you want that experience, just go buy like faceless penny stocks. I think what's happening now is you're going to start seeing less of the flipper game and more of like, hey, do I like this community? Do I want to be in this community? Is this a community I'm going to vibe with? And that's, I think, better long term as time goes. I think finding the right community for you or anyone in the crypto space is going to be, I think it's going to be tribal. It'll be nice for that if it's tribal plus like friendly and there's camaraderie. But I think the tribalness of communities is gonna be a big thing in sort of the next wave. So I think in terms of how we came up with it and how we got there, it's been a roller coaster, and we have some fun stuff that we're working on. But we're not gonna start to do. We're very protective over like what we're working on and how we're working on it, because we just don't want to. We don't want to play that game where it's like, oh, okay, we could do things tomorrow to like bump up the price or this or that, like say something. I don't believe that that's a sustainable model for this type of stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want to overpromise also and put specific dates and times. Like obviously with Yuga Labs, there's that deck that came out and it had specific months. So now people are expecting like this is going to happen on this date. And if it doesn't happen, then they're disappointed, and there's all that pressures to it. One question that I had for you as far as this Goblintown goes, one of the big events around it is obviously that first Twitter Spaces where there was all these goblin noises. Were you on there, whether or not you were using a burner or something like that? Were you on there? Or B, did that come out from people in the community, or was that from you guys above? Like, this hasn't been done before, let's try this out.
It's a combination of things. I was there, but I wasn't running the main account. That was Sydney on the team and Ethan. And they were doing the burger and goblin, writing and goblin noises. And then the community was really doing it. Honestly, like it's, Gray, who's the artist, he talks a lot about how, the community asks for something, they say something, and then he reacts. And it's a very interesting collaboration between the artist and the community. And I feel like that's something special that, like, this has that most people don't. And he's a very talented, a very quick, very fast designer, and he's currently just like really doing some crazy stuff that is not gonna you're not gonna know about it for a little while, but we can, there's a certain level of like cadence that you want, right? You want to like entertain and engage a community, and that's really the nuts and the bolts of it. If you can engage people, if you can keep them engaged and entertain them intermittently, that's all you want. Think about any successful community around entertainment, IP rights, all that stuff. It's all about, and I'm talking everything from Potterverse to Star Wars to CU to whatever. They know how to engage and entertain. Give people enough to, you're sort of like, you're feeding people. They're hungry.
It's one of those things where the way I interpret a lot of the successful NFTs are, there's obviously this idea of like first mover advantage, but once other teams try to start copying things that you've done, like there is all these different projects that they just have spaces and it's a different sound or an animal, or they're playing a music, and they were just copying what had already been done from the goblins. People, oh, there's this free mint. Oh, is this the next goblins? Like once people start talking like that, I think that sort of solidifies that what you did worked, right? Where people were attached to it, people were entertained. I think that's a good way to word it, especially with the goblins, was it was entertaining. And then going into like NFT NYC, it was, oh, this is the event to go to. I tried to get into the later night one.
Yeah, that was
Which
tough.
I mean,
I got a
it
lot of
was
crap.
smaller, but I mean, there were so many people out the door, and some of them are like characters. People are getting into it. So I think when it comes to communities, they're one of them that I think is, the people involved wanted to find something like that and finally found something like that, and they're able to attach themselves to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. I think, yeah, it found like an outlet for a lot of people. And yeah, I mean, I think, like, listen, we have. I love when I see people being like, "Oh, they're not doing anything anymore." Like, it's like the same thing that we did first is not gonna work again. Like, you don't, you know what I mean? Like, people will be like, "Oh, this is the next Yuga." It's like the next Yuga doesn't look anything like Yuga, and then the pre Yuga looks on. You know what I mean? Like, you need to think about it, right? Like, and think about like the thing that was successful is hard to repeat. You need to like come up with the new thing, and that's I think what people miss. I also think most of the space is impatient. They want it's funny, like they want everything right now, and they want to know everything, and they want it to be released tomorrow. And it's just like, okay, like it's sort of like, a kid who's having a tantrum, a little bit, and it's like, no, you're not going to get the thing today, tomorrow. You're going to get it when it's ready, because when it's ready, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And it's not going to, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like shipping code that you could just fix. It's like you ship it bad, you don't recover from that, So you wait till it's ready, and until it's good and ready. So anyway, there's a lot of thoughts around that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Then in the end of the day, we're not thinking in a week or two horizon of like, oh, the last 2 weeks this happened, or last month this happened. We're trying to think in a longer term horizon of like, okay, strategically over the next quarter, a year, 2 years, how are we thinking about this? What is this going to look like, etc. And that's, maybe the wrong approach, but that's our approach.
Yeah, and I guess the way that I talk about that is this last year has moved so fast, especially with the market. And there's all these things that are being created. People are talking about, oh, gaming is going to be the next big thing. Then it's like music NFTs is the next big thing. And it's just people want to know answers, and if they don't get
Yeah, of
told right
course.
away, then they kind of freak
Start to
out.
freak out.
Yeah,
There's anxiety, there's stress. I get it. It's real money. I think the thing is that like, hey, like 99.9% of projects like did it this way. It's not working. So
right.
it's like, why can't we try it a different way? You
Yeah.
know?
So, what other cool stuff are you guys doing over at Truth Labs? Because I know there was that whole reveal with Goblintown, and some people had been following Truth Labs before others just found out about what it was. But what else is going on over at Truth Labs?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what I could talk about, I mean,
Mm,
in there's the 187, which is 187 species characters in this sort of like universe we're building. And so far we've released, I think about like one a week is the cadence right now. So there's already, I think, already been 12 or 13 released, and that's going to play
wow.
out in an interesting way. We've got this, you know, every goblin got a burger, and that burger can be used to bait something called a grumple, which is a new character in that world, and that ends on Friday, and then there's going to be an interesting sort of rollout for that. And then in the Illuminati, we have a DAO, because part of the idea when originally starting Illuminati was half the mint goes to a DAO, half the mint goes to the team sort of build out and execute. And that money, there's 1,000 ETH that was sitting there for the DAO, right? That that DAO has been, voting on proposals and doing something. One of the things that they're doing is they voted to one of the members of the DAO brought to the group a collection. Well, it's not actually a collection. It's the first attempt of on-chain identity on
Mm,
Ethereum that predates punks, and we started to call it Operation Pre-Punks (OPP). And this idea where there was a collection. It was like 2-3 months before punks came out. That it was really a hackathon project, and it was, at least from the looks of it, the first on-chain attempt, or the first attempt of on-chain identity for Ethereum. It was an avatar project, and basically taking that existing code, bringing it back. There's a non-transferable hash that is, sort of relevant from that initial, contract, and the idea is launching, like resurrecting it and bringing it back, and everyone in the Illuminati, and raffle for goblins or whatever. But the idea is that like everyone who owns an Illuminati will be able to claim one. So that's like a really fun, like community run thing. Obviously, we've been helping shepherd it, but that's coming. I'd say we're about 2 weeks away from it being sort of code being ready, and then like another week or two to like let people know about it, and start to pick a release date. But so there's things like that, like that's community run that we're pretty excited about.
cool. And then I had another question, and this is somewhat going back to Goblintown, but there was this whole back and forth, and there was a lot of theories surrounding who is behind this project. Like, obviously, there was that whole Beeple thing, and then Beeple tweets about it. One side of that is, are you friends with Beeple? Were you part of that in the
He
back end?
came to he came to the new NFT NYC party, but I only met him then for the first time.
Okay.
He didn't know about us. It was sort of natural. Yeah, listen, a lot of the early speculation was, who's this team? And on one hand, it's like, hey, we're who we are. But on the other hand, it's like, hey, I believe this team is like the best team in the space, right? So that to me is obviously a compliment. At the same time, there was it's funny because, like, if you actually look at what happened, the only time we said we weren't somebody was when people were saying we were Yuga. Like, we literally quote retweeted
Mm,
and said like, not Yuga. And that was literally the only time. And obviously, like, people maybe didn't believe it, whatever. But out of all the things people were thinking who we were, the main thing was saying we're not Yuga.
yeah.
But the Beeple thing was actually more of a misunderstanding, and like a funny misunderstanding. So people would say, "Oh, this team is definitely X, right? Yuga, this, the Larva Labs guys, like, this is definitely," someone would be like, "This is definitely Snoop Dogg. This is definitely this person, that person." And then someone said, like, and every time that would happen, except the Yuga one, which we said we're not Yuga, whenever time that happened, we would retweet them and be like, "Oh yeah, we're definitely Snoop Dogg," or "Oh yeah, we're definitely this person," as like in sarcasm. And
Yeah,
then
leading
when
into it. Because
yeah,
like you
like
said, like
it was
that's part
everyone
of
was just like
community.
messing around. It was like fun.
Yeah.
And then when we did, like, we retweeted, "Oh, we're definitely Beeple." I asked him when I met him in person. He said that like a week or two before he was actually hacked. So when he saw that someone was saying like, "Oh, we're definitely Beeple," and obviously he wasn't, and we were, being sarcastic because we were doing that. He's like, if I would have seen you do that with like Snoop Dogg and a bunch of others before, I wouldn't have said anything. But he's like, once people said, "Oh, Beeple's the whatever," because he, I guess, was seeing all the comments. Then he felt like he needed to publicly sort of come out and say, "I'm not these people," which I think is funny. But anyway, no, we didn't know him. It wasn't, all that stuff was organic, which is obviously the best thing. You want that stuff to be organic.
Yeah, and were you planning on ever sort of doxing? Was this something that
Oh, it was
you
always
got
the
too big
plan.
to
Yeah,
it?
no,
Yeah.
no. It was always the plan. I definitely had some people that knew, that were like, whether under NDAs or whatever, that said like, "No, you should never dox." But like, we couldn't really do anything. We didn't feel comfortable doing any merch without doxing
Yeah.
ourselves. We didn't feel comfortable, doing anything in NFT or NYC, or people trust us, which is sort of ironic because I think people like the speculation in this
Mhm.
space more than anything.
Yeah.
But no, the idea was always that we were going to reveal that one of the 187 is a goblin. We were going to do a video that that explained who we are and what we're doing. So yeah, the idea was always to dox and always to reveal ourselves. I think long term we needed to do that.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of tricks up our sleeves. Like, this is
Yep.
this is not like for us, at least, we don't think this is going to be okay, we doxed that, whatever, things go the way they go. We have a lot of ideas, but yeah, I mean, it was always the plan.
Cool. Yeah, that was always one thing that I wondered, because going into NFT NYC seemed like the perfect time to do it. Like you said, you're about to host events and merch, and then obviously the McGoblintown burger. So how did that one come about? Because I think that was one of the hits in NYC. Was, if anyone
The
saw
burger truck, yeah.
the burger truck coming along, was that something that popped up from the community? Because
No, I mean,
obviously that was part of
we
it
put it
before.
together pretty quickly. So
Mhm.
Ethan on our team was the one who came up with the idea of burgers, and then we sort of put that together and did the whole like sort of make your own burger thing. And then yeah, we had a bunch of plans for NFT NYC, and then we decided to put together a truck. I mean, we had an after party, we had an Illuminati event, we had a bunch of stuff going on, and we just decided to put together a truck pretty quickly, and made it like a goblin would run that truck. Yeah, that was definitely the highlight of NFT NYC. Everyone was talking about it, and the burgers were apparently delicious. I did not have one, but apparently they were pretty good.
Yeah, I had one of them, and yeah, it was sort of the talk of the town over there. Was
Yeah.
people, "Oh, did you see the burger truck? Oh, look, the burger truck's over there." And it was something
We
that,
also sent it to a lot of other events. So
right,
a lot
yeah,
of the communities were asking it to like be outside.
yeah,
And it was a little bit of trolling, a little bit of like, once in a while it was like a collaboration with them.
yeah, and I think that was another community thing where people are recognizing it and connecting it back to goblins. And you had the person that was in there was wearing the goblin mask and
Yeah.
really like leaning into it, which I think is part of what makes the Goblin Town project so special. And I think finding out that it came from I don't want to say like more legit project, but it wasn't just some like random
It
people.
wasn't by accident. No,
Yeah.
it was very uh deliberate. Everything we did was
Yeah.
very calculated. Those things don't happen by random,
Cool.
you know.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see where all of these play out. Really, when is the next phase? Because you had mentioned it's early access right now. Are you
Early
expecting
access
a
right now.
soon?
We're gonna onboard like 25 to 50 to 100 people, and then sort of work with them to pare down some of the product, because it's the DAO is meant for a bunch of people that aren't just you. So there's I think a specific type of experience that a Vault DAO should have. And then from there, it's, build out some of those features or pare down some of those features, and then sort of open up to anyone.
That's something I'm looking forward to, because I think scams are just such a big part of Web3 and people being able to get onboarded on. So it's helping with the safety for people and kind of that peace of mind. So I'm
Yeah,
excited
for
to
sure.
see where Vault DAO goes. And we'll be looking forward to hearing more from you guys over there. And is there anything else that you were trying to plug, or just do you want people
No,
to follow you
I
on
think
Twitter?
that's enough. I think it's
Yeah.
enough. I think Upstream and Truth, those are the main things. I'm AJT on Twitter. Happy to chat with anybody. But yeah, that's the gist of the things I'm working on. It's, this is 1,000% of my time.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for hopping on with me today.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course.
you have a cool backstory, and a lot of the projects that you've been working on have been making waves around the communities. Thanks for
Yeah,
hopping
totally.
on. We'll talk to you guys next time.